day going on the roof of Mahaka House here. It has been a good rest day today in Mahaka. I usually get a day off the bike every 6 or 7 days, and I try to do as little as possible just to really recover as much as possible. Since there's no training going on today, I thought I would chat about training philosophies, kind of the method behind how I train and how other people might do it. And if that's not really up your street, then maybe give today a skip and join me in the next vlog. When it comes to training, there are two dominant models. There is the threshold model and the polarized training model. The threshold model works around this idea that you raise FTP up from training below it. So you do sessions below FTP in order to lift it up. Polarized training works by training above FTP and lifting FTP up from above. Where the two models disagree is on which is most effective. The threshold model obviously believes that training below threshold is more efficient at raising FTP, and polarized training believe that it's more efficient to train above FTP in order to lift it. The threshold model involves a lot of sort of harder endurance rides, so sort of pushing your endurance capabilities over 3 or 4 hour rides and really staying on the power and doing a hard but steady effort for an extended period of time. There's also sweet spot intervals, which is training below FTP for, like, let's say 20 minutes or 2 times 20 minutes, whatever it is, but the majority of the work is done below FTP in order to raise it up. I've done some research on threshold training, and I know some people who coach that way and people who are trained that way, but I've never actually sort of executed that model. So I don't really understand the ins and outs of the training 100% because I've never exposed myself to it through training and to see the gains or the pitfalls or whatever it may be. On the other side of the scale, you have polarized training, which is what I do. The idea behind polarized training is that you have these really intense, difficult sessions above FTP, and pretty much the rest of your training time is made up by riding slow and steady in order to recover for these high intensity sessions. There's a really good quote by Joe Friel, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it goes along the lines of choose your key sessions for the week and be ready for them. And that kind of sums up the theory of polarized training really well, because you have these key really difficult sessions which are above FTP and are highly stressful on your body, and then you're using the other sessions during the week to recover, ride a little bit easier and still work on your endurance a bit, but it's just not at the same pace that you would do in the threshold model. So you're doing intervals maybe of 10 minutes in length, or 20 or 40 or an hour, all of the above, or 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever it is. But in general, everything is paced at a maximal effort to get the biggest gain possible, and then your other rides in the week revolve around recovering and preparing for your next session. I hope that makes sense. So a typical week will involve 2 interval sessions for me. So let's say it's I'm working on my FTP and I'm going to do 2 20-minute intervals. The first interval I will ride as hard as possible for 20 minutes, treat it like a 20-minute FTP test, everything I've got. Then I'll recover for 20 minutes and then I will go again as hard as I can. There'll be a drop in wattage obviously because I'm slightly more fatigued, but it will still be 2 maximal efforts for the allotted time period, which is 20 minutes. That is one of the sessions I do, and it is an extremely difficult session and something that racks up a lot of stress on my body. So then the other days in the week are 2 or 3 hour ride with a pace of about 50 or 60% of FTP. It's not overly difficult. I'm never putting myself in difficulty. I could easily have a conversation with the person next to me because my next goal is the next interval session. My aim is to recover as much as possible in order to maximize my efforts in that next big session. So that's the philosophy behind my training. It's obviously not for everyone. Different goals mean different strategies, and not everyone responds in the same way. But I've seen sort of consistent results with that. I've found consistent gains on FTP on my sort of 4 and 5 minute efforts. There's been a steady progress over the last 4 years. There hasn't been a stagnation where I've thought to pursue a different model or a different style of training. The biggest trap that people fall into with polarized training is training too hard on the easy days and too easy on their hard days. If you are really maximizing your efforts on your hard days, the idea is that you're then so tired that you don't want to train hard on your easy days. And if you train too hard on your easy days, you're not recovering enough to then execute your interval sessions, which means you get stuck in this spiral where you're not really improving, but you're just racking up fatigue and you're kind of not going anywhere. On the occasions when I have been a little naughty or ridden a bit too hard or got sucked into doing something that was a bit too big, when I hit that next interval session, I wasn't able to push as hard as I should, and I wasn't able to complete it and get the most out of it. So really it was just a bit of a waste of time. So you need to really be riding easy on your easy days in order to ride super hard on your hard days. And when I say super hard, I mean super hard. Everything is as hard as I can go. I give absolutely everything, and those are the days where the improvements are made. But that's just a bit of insight into how I do things on the polarized training front. It's starting to get a little dark, but the moon is awesome tonight. I would love to do a Q&A about training sometime, whether it be my training or your training or something you've read about, something you're interested in trying, or whatever it may be. Just let me know in the comments down below, and maybe in a couple weeks we'll have enough questions to do a Q&A training video. I'll try and get an expert in on it as well, just to share a more scientific and more knowledgeable perspective.